right. Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to Got the 4 Points. We are still well and truly stuck into final season, grand finals all around the state in the last week. I think there's only a couple more leagues that are still going, and we'll touch on them right at the end. But it's been another big week of grand finals right across country football and local suburban football in Victoria. Pistol, tell me, mate, what did you make of the weekend? Was there anything in particular that caught your eye?
Yes, there was. It was a Sunday, and I caught a little bit on the live stream of the Ovens and Murray grand final. So we will detail this a little bit greater in Siren Summaries, but it was the Wang Rovers versus the Yarrawonga Pigeons. Yeah, I think all I'll say without giving too much away was incredible game, incredible
Hmm.
coverage. The
Hmm.
coverage was incredible. They do a really good job there, and certainly one that I'm looking forward to digging into a bit further in Siren Summaries. But that's what caught my eye was the Ovens and Murray. What caught your eye?
Well, what caught my eye, look, we've talked a lot about the VAFA Pete. We love the Amos footy. We haven't mentioned much about the women's footy recently,
You haven't, no.
which we're going to rectify now. So what really caught my eye was the first premiership win for Old Scotch in the Premier Division of the VAFA women's competition. So congratulations to Old Scotch. I think that was about a 30-point win roughly. So that's very impressive. They beat St Kevin's in that grand final. St Kevin's have really been the dominant force
Strong
in
unit.
in VAFA women's footy in the Prem competition. So um, I think St Kevin's have made the finals every single year that VAFA Premier Women's competition has run, and they've made the grand final, won the grand final the last 3 years, but not this year. So congratulations to Old Scotch. That's a big win, and it's a really big week for Old Scotch, of course, because as we'll touch on briefly a little bit later, they're also going to play in the Premier Men's Grand Final.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe that's some good positive momentum heading into the Premier A men's grand final this weekend, or this Friday, we should add, of
Friday,
course,
yeah.
with the change in the fixturing to play on the public holiday. So
Yeah,
yeah,
got to be good vibes down at the Camberwell Sports Ground, I would think, for
you'd
Old
hope
Scott.
so. You'd hope so.
Yeah. So we thought this week we would do something very similar to last week. We're going to go basically through the grand finals that have happened right around the state in our Siren Summaries segment. So we're going to go grand final for grand final all around the state. Pete, I know you had your eye a lot on the Ovens and Murray League. You unfortunately didn't get the chance to make your way north to watch the Hoppers, but you did have a chance, as you said, to watch that O&M Grand Final live on YouTube. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so look, I'm a little disappointed I didn't end up getting to go to watch the Hoppers because looking from the coverage, A, it looked like a really good day.
Mm.
Um, B, the oval looked incredible. Yeah, it looked like a really good deck. It was played over there at Lavington, and really stunning oval, really well set up too. Like you could just see that it was really well set up. I must admit, I didn't have a look and see if that is the normal home ground venue or if they sort of pass it through the league. So I'd have to maybe do a little more research there. But it looked like it was absolutely spot on in terms of everything else. And I suppose when everything else is spot on, you want the game to match it. And boy, oh boy, did they get the game to match it. So Wangaratta Rovers 11-6-72 defeated the Yarrawonga Pigeons 9-15-69. So um, incredible game, seesawing encounter. Rovers got a bit of a buffer, sort of early to midway through the last quarter. Outside of that, it had really been goal for goal, or maybe a couple of goals difference throughout most of the game. Um, 22 points up with 7 minutes played in the last, were the Rovers. The Pigeons didn't go down without swinging a few punches though, and watching, I sort of flicked in and out a little bit for the first sort of two and a half quarters, but sort of watched the last quarter in full, and I was getting nervous for both sides just watching it because you just hear the tension in the crowd, and You could see the tension in the players start to build. The Pigeons kicked the last 3 goals of the game.
Wow.
And they probably kicked their last of those goals at about the 22-minute mark. So
Hmm.
you sort of thought, traditional football, you're normally thinking maybe about 30 minutes of time elapsed. So probably thought, all right, there's about 8 minutes to play here with a 3-point difference. Can Yarrawonga get the goal that puts them over the edge, or can the Rovers hang on? And there was some incredible scenes in the game, Rob. There was definitely a moment where um, there was a player down behind play.
Hmm.
Ball had been kicked out of bounds, paid deliberate. The Yarrawonga player picks it up quickly, takes his kick, big full forward there for the Pigeons, takes a big strong mark. You think he's about to line up. Turns out the non-officiating umpire down the other end had blown for time to stop before that
Ah,
kick had gone in the 50 to let the injured player get off. Umpires are meeting in the middle. It was sort of
wow.
all it was all happening.
Yeah.
Um, but it was an incredible game. Um, some of the intercept marks, or some might say game-saving marks taken in that last quarter from some of the Rovers defenders were pretty inspirational. There
Mm.
was a couple almost Leo Barry star moments. It was quite incredible to watch. Interestingly enough, Rob, I know people probably hear the scores 11-6 to 9-15 and think, oh, 17 scoring shots to 24, and the
Mm.
Pigeons lose. It didn't, it honestly, watching the game, it didn't feel like one of those games where the Pigeons had thrown away their chance. Like,
Yeah.
I thought the Rovers were pretty strong and pretty dominant throughout patches of that game. Um, Now, look, clearly, of course, Yarrawonga have gotten the ball inside a fair bit and kicked a few points. But honestly, watching the game, it never felt like Wangaratta were just being outclassed.
Yeah.
Um, and especially late in that sort of late third quarter, last quarter, it wasn't misses that were keeping the Rovers in the game. It was just really good football. And it was end to end.
Yeah.
It was just absolute chaos. Um, Now, 1994 was the last time the Rovers had won the premiership. So that is
Okay.
the 30-year drought that
Yeah.
they have broken. And sort of, if you go have a look at the Ovens and Murray Facebook page, you can sort of see some of the raw emotion from especially some of the senior players that have been involved in that group for the last, 15 odd years of
Yeah.
themselves. I think one of them was saying, he'd been at the club playing there for the last 20 odd years,
Mm.
and had never even played in a grand final.
Yeah.
So to go all from that to winning by 3 points was pretty special.
Yeah.
Ed Damon, best on ground for the Rovers. Congratulations to him. But really, I think that's possibly of all the grand finals you and I have watched in the last last few weeks. That's probably the best game of footy I think I've seen for my own eyes
Yeah.
in this season. That was an incredible game.
Yeah. And great summary too. I did watch a little bit of that one with you, and we were flicking between the VFL Grand Final, which was going on at the time. Um, we haven't covered anything about the VFL. We're sort of in that grey area between local footy and pro footy. I don't know. Anyway, that was a pretty good grand final too.
Was.
Um, but my comment to you at the time was that the Ovens and Murray League grand final didn't look too different in standard at all to the VFL grand final. I was very impressed with the standard there. Also impressed with the deck and the coverage. That's been one of the joys of starting this show with you, Pete, is actually seeing some of these facilities around the place. And
Incredible.
um, yeah, I mean, there's some amazing grounds out there, and the passion of the supporters and seeing these big crowds turn up and the raw emotion of clubs winning their first grand finals for a long time, and even the passion and emotion for clubs that are winning their third or fourth grand final in a row. Like it's pretty impressive. So yeah, well done to the Wang Rovers. Um, Commiserations to the Pigeons. I'm still not quite sold on Pigeons as a name for a football club. I'd love to hear someone from Yarrawonga maybe
Blame that.
mount a case.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, the only explanations that I can think of are along the lines of shitting all over their opponents, but I'm not sure if we're really.
Oh, that's great. Mind you, I must admit, I agree. Pigeons is a weird one, but I also like that it's not just, the Yarrawonga Kangaroos or the
Yeah,
Bulldogs or the
yeah,
Swans or the Lions or the Tigers. Like, I like that
no,
it's different as well.
that's
Maybe
true.
maybe pigeon isn't the animal I'd pick to put fear into my opponent, um, but hey, Yarrawonga have been pretty successful in the last, five,
Yeah,
6 years as well. So I think they've managed to put
can't take
fear
that
into
away
their
from them.
opponents without without worrying about what the mascot is. So and Rob, we love when listeners of the podcast give us a little inkling that something pretty special has happened in other leagues, and I believe that's what happened in your first Siren summary.
You're absolutely right, and not only that, uh, we got a little tip off from a long time listener, first time caller, who we got a little tip off that we should take a peek at the Murray Football Netball League. And the segue also works beautifully from Pigeons being a weird name at Yarrawonga. If we head down the Murray a little bit, Pete, to Kungupna, they have undoubtedly the best, weirdest name, I think, in local football that I've heard. Please let us know if there is a better, weirder, more inexplicable and less scary sounding mascot than the Road. Kangupna are called the Road. I'd love to know why. I mean, I guess most places have roads going through them, so I don't know what's so unique about about Kangupna.
I'm not
But
sure. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Look, the Road have had an absolutely amazing day, Pete, on Saturday in the Murray Football Netball League Grand Final. Now, they've had an incredible couple of weeks actually. They had a really last gasp effort against Moama in the preliminary final to even make it into the grand final. And then I got the tip off that I should have a look at just at the very end of that game. And so Kungupna were 24 points down against Finley in the grand final at three-quarter time. Um, but they've obviously summoned some of that energy from the week before when they came from behind to beat Moama. They've kicked, they've kicked the last six goals of the game. We've had a few good mentions of massive last quarters in the last few weeks, and none much more significant than their six goals in the last quarter.
Mm.
Uh, they managed to level the score. So six goals and a few different behinds, and twice in the last quarter they kicked a point to level the scores, and things were getting very very tense. Now, as I understand it, they had a ball that was bobbling inside their 50. Maybe it was a bit of chaos ball, like you love to advocate. Nobody was able to take clean possession. The ball bobbled through for a behind to put the Road 1 point in front. And as the Finley fullback has gone to kick the ball out from the goal square, the siren has gone. So, with literally the last kick and literally the last second of the game, Kungupna have won that grand final. So, thank you very much for the tip off on that one. An absolute cracker of a game. Well done
Mm.
to the Road for getting that one done. That's their first premiership, Pete, since 1993 as a club. So, 31-year drought broken there.
Wow.
Um, so another long drought, as you mentioned, with the Wang Rovers as well.
Yep.
And it's actually their first ever premiership in that league, in the Murray League. They joined from apparently the now defunct Tungamar Football League. I'm not quite sure when that one disbanded, but yes, Kungupna now in the Murray Footy League and their first flag there. So congratulations to the Road. Well done.
Congratulations to the Road,
Well
and
done.
and I've just done a little bit of googling, Rob, whilst you were talking about
Yeah,
Kungupna the Road.
yeah.
So from the Weekly Times, they've mentioned that in the early 20th century, when the region of Kungupna Road outgrew the nearby township of Kungupna, it caused the initial settlement just north of Shepparton to die off. Naturally, when the football club was formed, it adopted the name of the community. So hence Kungupna Road. In 1963, the word road was officially dropped from the town of Congupna Road, meaning there was once more a town called Congupna. The football club took a year to catch up after the word road was removed from the town name and won a premiership in 1963 as the Congupna Road Football Club. So there you go. So it's
There
to
you go.
do with namings of the town back in the early 20th century. So that's an interesting
Mm,
one there. I was
yeah.
thinking, I know Congupna's surrounded by roads until you go a road past it to get to that way and a road to get the other way to Yarrawonga. And
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I sort of, similar to you, thought lots of other footy fields are surrounded by roads as well. So there you go. That's interesting. But congratulations to the road, and what a win, hey? 24 points down at three-quarter time. Clearly mustered something you know, one thing I'd love, Rob, is being in those three-quarter time huddles. Like
Oh, yeah.
what is said at that three-quarter time huddle that everyone just goes, you know what? We are going to do it.
Yeah.
And pretty special moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly, and
Absolutely.
I reckon different coaches would go about that moment in a different way.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
certainly not as an important game, but I remember, and I think I might have told you this story previously in I think it was an under-16s game. So again, not that important. It was just a regular weekly round. But we were undefeated at this stage, Castlemaine, under 16s, and we were playing Sandhurst Maris Dockers, who were the other undefeated team. And I reckon we were probably similar, maybe 20, 25 points down going into the last quarter. And I just remember our coach, Len Watson, who, of course, you're very familiar with. Lenny certainly spent some time there during your days at the Wesley Hill in the Castlemaine District Junior Footy League. He actually went the other way. He just went, I don't think you can do it. I don't think you've got it in you. I don't think you can win the game. We'll basically do a review after this and see where we need to improve to try and get them later in the season. And I think there was a bit of pride in our group that went, well, hang on, we're undefeated. We're going to stay undefeated, and we got up and won by a couple of points with some pretty epic play there in the last quarter. So I'd be interested to know, for some of these coaches, how have they tackled that last address in a grand final when you're down by that margin?
Well, I'm going to pick that the approach you just laid out is not that common.
I would hope so too. I don't think, honestly, I don't think it's an approach Len would take anymore these days either. But maybe he just knew his group really well, and he knew that that was going to be one that was going to probably get a rise out of us more than sort of trying to
Yeah.
go, you can do this. So I think he knew his group pretty well, and he got the
Yeah.
response. Or maybe the response he was after, or maybe he didn't. Maybe he just genuinely thought we weren't going to do it. In which case, shame on him. Anyway,
Yeah.
speaking of teams that just got the job done, I'm going to look at the Ballarat Footy League. So
Yep.
we've spoken a little bit about the Ballarat Footy League.
Yep.
Still trying to wrap my head around their top six. Final structure. They played their grand final on the weekend. Melton 11-6-72 defeat East Point 7-13-55. Um, look, I watched this game on the live stream. Look like tough conditions out there at City Oval in Ballarat. Is it ever not tough conditions in Ballarat? I don't know. Players that play in either that league or the Central Highlands League will have to maybe give us a shout and let us know, is there a good day in those leagues? Um,
They should play that. They should play that competition in summer, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think it would be much better. And look, East Point were definitely tough customers. So Melton had knocked them off previously in the final series, but it was a really tough game. Again, similar to some of the other games we've spoken about already, one of those couple of goals in it, then it was a goal in it, then it
Yeah.
was a couple of points in it, then it'd go back out to a couple of goals. It was really tight. Um, but I just felt watching it that when the cracks got whipping, when it was go time and you needed to win the ball or you needed to take a really big mark, Melton were just that team that just got it done in those
Yeah.
moments. Clunked some really good marks there forwards, the
Yeah.
Melton forwards, and we're giving East Point defenders a little bit of trouble. In all honesty, maybe 4 or 5 goals came through free kicks at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and from my eye, I'm sure East Point fans are probably saying the exact opposite right now. But from my eye, we're all there as well. I think
Yeah.
the East Point defenders were very worried about the size and the strength that the Melton forwards had, and there was a little bit of maybe just holding on a little too long or not
Yeah.
making it less obvious that they were holding them. So
Yeah.
their forwards looked
Yeah.
really dangerous. Um, there was certainly a big ruckman there for Melton. He was a man mountain,
Yeah.
and he was certainly driving a lot of the play, especially in the contest. So that was pretty impressive. Liam Carter, best on ground for Melton. They claim another premiership, having won in 2022. So
Yeah.
having a little bit of an era of success there. The Melton Bloods, I believe,
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
name,
Yeah.
and certainly they gave it their all there against the East Point boys. But yeah, it was again. I feel a little bit bad for the Ballarat Footy League because I've been talking up how good their coverage and everything else is, and their coverage was still incredible. But now it's just been slightly overshadowed for me by how good the Ovens and Murray coverage was. But the Ballarat Footy League again, really good coverage, did a really good job
Yeah.
for the weeks that I was watching the live stream there, and yeah, that was a good win by them. It feels like it's a league. I think you and I were just discussing just generally between each other around premiership winners in some of those major leagues. It just feels like that Ballarat league has had a little bit more. Um, I don't know what
Diversity.
the diversity is probably a good word of winners, and I can't
Yeah.
help but feel that just provides a little bit of greater interest into the league,
Yeah.
in the fact that they do have some diversity of winners there within the league. East Point got up in the reserves, so
Yeah.
again, I think as we discussed the other week,
Mm.
that awkward feeling where your twos are probably happy as Larry and your ones probably don't want to hear from you. So, but
Until the third beer, and then it's all fine.
probably, yeah. In all honesty, that's
Yeah.
probably the case. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think the Ballarat League have got some pretty good things going on there with the diversity they've got of the winners.
Yeah.
So congratulations to the Bloods, and yeah, it's one of the competitions for next season, Rob. I'm really looking forward to watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because as we
Likewise.
just mentioned, that diversity of winners, I just think we could
Yeah.
be up for a really fun season next year with the Ballarat League.
Yeah. I was wondering, I was a little bit surprised in a way that they played that grand final at the City Oval, given that the Central Highlands League played their grand final at the AFL venue in Ballarat. Now, don't get me wrong, the City Oval is beautiful.
Yep.
It's a picture, and it's perhaps a nod to the traditionalists there who would like to see the grand final played at the traditional home of football, I guess, as they would say in Ballarat. With the beautiful grand old grandstand and the nice lattice work and certainly plenty of space around that ground for
There
the
is
crowd. So no, it can't deny that it's a good venue, but
definitely.
it is odd to me that the Central Highlands League got the go ahead, or they decided to go ahead and play their grand final
Yeah.
at Mars Stadium at North Ballarat instead of
Yeah.
yeah, and the Ballarat League didn't. Anyway,
Yeah.
that was just interesting.
It is interesting. I think Ballarat League have played at Mars before.
Yeah,
I believe maybe not 100% satisfied with the offerings that Mars offers compared to maybe that traditionalist offering that
yeah,
City Oval offers. So But I'm also not going to step into that realm because I don't want to get any hate mail from from the Bendigo from the Ballarat Footy League. So I'll leave it there.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. We don't want to step on any toes, especially not with our Ballarat friends. Um, let's steer safely out of that zone up north
Yep.
again, Pete. I've really had my eyes on the Murray region.
Mm,
So um, another one that I was interested in was the Central Murray Football League. There are some really good names in that league as well, and Naya West United's definitely one of them.
good one.
Just for a really long name, Jesus, it just rolls off the tongue nicely. Nine West United. So I could say that one all day. Um, Pete, they won the flag there in the Central Murray League. They defeated Kerrang by 54 points, so pretty solid win there for the Demons, I believe they are in the Melbourne colours. Nine West United. I'm just going to keep saying it. That was 15-16, 106 to 7-10-52. Now that's Nine West United's first flag since 2001.
Wow.
Um, and perhaps a little bit of a surprise actually there in the Central Murray League. Kerrang were on top of the ladder at the end of that season. I think they had only lost one game throughout the season, in the home and away part at least.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure they also beat the Demons in the first final.
Right.
So that's a big effort from Nine West to get up
Good.
in the grand final. They worked their way through the qualifying or through the semi and preliminary finals to get back into the grand final. Yeah, so Kerrang were on top of the ladder. They won the only encounter between those two teams by a point earlier this year. Not
Yep.
much in that, I suppose, but they got over the line. And Kerrang were going for a three-peat. So, yeah, really big day for Nine West United. They've perhaps defied the odds a little bit there to win that one. Um, so the best on ground was Ethan Curran in that game for the Demons. And I did note that Nine West United had a lad by the name of Brandon Grefnell, who he kicked 4 goals on the day. So Nine West have kicked 15 goals, so I guess 4 goals isn't a massive percentage, but that's still a really good effort in a grand final.
Well,
So well done
25%.
him. Yeah, and he was a very important player for the
Mm,
Demons this year. He was best on ground 8 times throughout the year,
wow.
and he's a noted goal kicker. 89 goals total for the season.
Not bad.
And I did see in the write-up that he actually was coming off 2 times century goal kicking seasons in 2022 and 2023.
Okay.
That
So
was with Morong.
he's had
That
a
was
down year.
with Morong. I think that's right. He's had a bad year. He's only kicked 89. Um, my good years, I kicked one, Pete. Um, so anyway, yes, he's had a bit of a disappointing year, Brandon. He's only kicked 89 goals. Um, but yes, he was playing with Morong, and I think Morong are in the Loddon Valley League, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah.
he's come across, gone a little bit further north, played
Okay.
for Nine West United,
Yep.
and very successful. So well done, Brandon Grefnell. That's a great season, and
It is.
well done, Nine West United.
Yeah, well done to the boys there at Nine West United, and certainly um, my knowledge of the Central Murray Footy League over the last few years has just been that Kerrang have been the powerhouse.
Yeah,
So, and everything you just said there in your summary probably indicated that maybe there was an expectation that that was going to continue on. And Nine West United have come out and just gone whack and won by
yep,
54 points. Look, it is something to be said. We've said it a couple of times with the grand finals. Like it's one game. You know,
yeah,
you come out and play a blinder, or you come out and play a blinder, and your opponents play a shocker. Like
yeah,
it
yeah.
certainly can swing in a different way. So that's
And I think it'd be really interesting to look at the differential in teams winning grand finals whether they've had a week off or not. I
Good
know
call.
many of these country leagues playing with a final five or a
Yep.
final four in a situation typically in those final structures would be that the winner of the first qualifying final would go straight through to the grand final
Yep.
and have a week off. So this is a scenario where Kerrang have got up in that first final and gone straight through to the granny, had a week off, and maybe cooled their heels a little bit too much. I know Chris Fagan mentioned that the other week or last weekend in the Brisbane game over Geelong. Geelong had a couple of big wins and then
Yep.
a week off and then a win and a week off, and
Mm.
maybe that did for them. So
Yep.
that would be interesting to know across local footy whether that's a factor. But yeah, in the end, the reign of the Blues there has been undone by 9 West United.
Very good. Well, Rob, that seemed like it was a high scoring encounter. I'm sure, Kerrang have only scored 7-10 there, but 15-16 from 9 West United's incredible. I'm going to just take you to a game where there was certainly not high scoring. I'm taking us to the Hampden Footy League and the grand final there on the weekend. We had North Warrnambool 3-10-28. Now,
Okay,
3-10-28, you're thinking not a great score, not amazing. And they've
probably
gone,
not going to be competitive.
probably going to be hard to be competitive, you would have thought. They've gone down by 1 point to South Warrnambool, who scored 4-5-29. So,
Oh boy.
incredible 1 point encounter. Um, I
Was
was
that on the same day? Was that on the same day as the Central Murray League? Because that's a good picture of the far southwest versus the northwest.
That's a
Oh,
really great question. I would have to look at what day it was played, whether it was the Saturday or the Sunday. Um, there was no footage. I did
okay.
try and I should have had a look what day it was because I was searching around to try and find footage of the game, and I was unable to find any. But it's got to be windy Warrnambool at its best, doesn't it? Like it's got to be absolutely weather impacted for 3-10-28 to lose to 4-5-29.
I know
Um,
what's happened there, Pete. North Warrnambool have destroyed the tapes. They don't want that getting out.
or, or it
That's a
got that.
stitch up.
That
That
could
is a
be
stitch up.
that could be half time, and they've just gone. You know what? Half time. Warrnambool's had a lightning strike. Game gets called off. I don't know. I couldn't really find any other information about it. So I can only assume that it was just. Look, I've been to Warrnambool a number of times. I can only assume it was just classic Warrnambool weather, which is, basically nail anything down if you want it to be there in the morning. Um, Now, get this, Rob, as well, though. I'm going to mention some names here, and these names might sound familiar to you.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Barlow,
Yeah, I've heard him.
heard of him? Stephen Motlop.
I still thought he was coaching Werribee until I watched the VFL Grand Final on the weekend.
Stephen Motlop,
Yeah, I heard of him too.
heard of him too.
Yeah,
Nathan Vardy,
yeah, that's familiar.
yep. Familiar names. Very, very famous names when it comes
Yep,
to football. They've all done
yep.
some pretty impressive things in football. They all featured in the losing team.
Oh,
So
goodness.
they are all North Warrnambool boys in the three
Wow.
ten 28 score. I couldn't, I had to double check. Like, I genuinely went into the profiles to make sure that, that these were the
Yeah,
actual people and not just people that shared names with.
yeah.
Stephen Motlop is a 7-pointer. Not only is he I thought 6 points was the highest you could go, but obviously he's a 6-pointer that has transferred clubs, so he gains that extra point. So he's a
Goodness.
7-pointer. I I can't help but wonder. So North Warrnambool used 41 out of their 41 points. So looking at the
Okay.
player point system,
Yeah,
North Warrnambool have 41 points. They have utilised 41 points.
yeah.
South Warrnambool have 40 points and they've utilised 26. So for me, and look, I could be completely wrong here. Like I said,
Mm,
have not been familiar with the Hampden League in the past. The only thing I've ever known about the Hampden League was one of our Blacks players went to that league for this
mm.
season. Won't even mention them by name. Uh, but that's all I've known about the Hampton League. I'm calling it. I'm calling it David versus Goliath. I reckon it was top heavy talent versus local superstars. That's what I'm calling it. Could be
Yep,
wrong. No offense to
yep,
the North Warrnambool boys. It might not be like that at all. But to have Barlow, Motlop, and Vardy in your team and lose,
yeah.
not great. I'm interested how I, they might be, they might be involved there at the club in terms
Mm,
of past. I actually don't know
yeah,
where those boys grew up, so I can't
not
speak
sure.
for certain as to where they are from. Um, Funnily enough, in the Hampton League, Ben Cunnington actually played in the Hampton League this year as well. So
Yes, I did see
they
that.
they obviously had a few ex-AFL boys running around, which would have been great. Um, Shannon Beck's best on ground for South Warrnambool.
Yeah, okay.
Um, so congratulations there to South Warrnambool. You can only imagine when it's South v North that it would have been a pretty hotly contested game. I believe we've got the three Warrnambool teams there in the Hampton League.
I think that's right.
North,
Yeah,
North, North, South, and then just Warrnambool, I think. So,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you can imagine all three of those teams probably have a bit of a rival
yeah.
against each other. So yeah, I thought that was very interesting to see those scores as I was flicking through the country footy scoreboard just through Play HQ to find a 1 point ball game, 28-29.
Yeah, that's an extraordinary result. I was also thinking, Pete, that anytime you've got a South versus the North, that's got to be pretty hot contest, right?
Got it.
That's just, I mean, especially in a country town, um, you know, the South versus North divide is pretty big in Melbourne,
Yeah.
um, and yes, anytime you've got South versus North, I think that's pretty good. I was just doing a little bit of looking here. Michael Barlow's from Shepparton.
Right.
Nathan Vardy played for the Gippsland Power in his early days, so
Okay.
I'm imagining probably not. But then he did go to Geelong initially, so
Okay.
um,
So maybe.
not sure really. I don't have any information about where he would have come from. But and Stephen Motlop, I haven't had a chance to look him up yet. But
Well,
there you
we might
go.
have to do a bit of investigation there to see how they ended up at the club. I'm sure, like any local footy club, there's always a link somewhere.
Yeah,
Um, we just don't know what it is.
yeah, that's it. That's it. No, well done, South there. Um, hopefully next year they'll have some footage. We can check it out. Um,
Fingers crossed.
let's see what happens. All right, Pete. Hey, let's do a few quick special mentions. A few just round the grounds kind of summaries. We talked about the VAFA a bit throughout some of our early shows, mate, and it was the B grade and C grade grand finals
Yep.
last weekend. So C grade grand final, Old Carey played the Hampton Rovers, and that was a bit of a whitewash. Old Carey won that one by 89 points. Um, and the B grade grand final was bigger
Mm.
than that, unfortunately, in terms of the neutral supporters and in terms of the De La Salle supporters. So Old Haileybury beat De La Salle by a whopping 94 points in that grand final. Um, I think I read that was the biggest winning margin in a B grade grand final since Old Haileybury over
Okay.
Old Melburnians in 1990. So
Right.
Old Haileybury, when they play in B grade grand finals and not against the Uni Blacks, they kick big scores. Um, just a quick mention there to Andreas Stefanakis, who was best on ground for the Bloods there and kicked 5 goals in the 94-point win. So he's had an outstanding season there at Old
Yeah.
Haileybury. And
I think on that, Rob, we probably mentioned it that the prelim finals of Prem C to get up to Prem B and then Prem B to get up to the top grade, I think are such bruising encounters
yeah,
that honestly the grand final And I'm not trying to have any criticism here of the VAFA structure, but they're somewhat anticlimactic because
Mm,
that focus of that prelim final is where it's really all energy is spent there.
yeah. It's a good point.
And then normally you've got a team that is sort of, yeah, a little bit banged up, and a team that's waiting to prey on them. So,
Yeah.
but congratulations to both those teams. Look, I think throughout the season, Carey and um, Hailbury had been the form teams of those
Yeah.
two grades. So very much
Yeah.
deserved still.
That's fair. Yeah, that's well said. And yeah, it's kind of flying in the face of my theory about teams not doing so well after they've had a week off. And maybe that's the point. If you've got a week off, but your opposition is playing for a game that's doubly important,
Yeah,
the promotion and the grand
the
final
grand
berth,
final.
then yeah, goes a little bit more in the favour of the team that's had a week off. So
Yeah. Unless,
still congratulations to Hampton Rovers and De La Salle who
yeah,
have earned promotion
correct.
to B grade and A grade respectively.
Yeah,
But yes, the
yeah.
grand finals
No,
were probably not for the neutral spectators'
no.
delight.
Look,
Um,
it's obviously hard to win that grand final as the team that have had to win the prelim, unless you get served up a deck that's about 4 inches deep of mud.
when would that have ever happened?
Don't know. Don't think it's happened in my time.
I don't think it. No, goodness knows. Hey, let's get away from mud-soaked grand finals. We'll just congratulate old Haileybury on their second B grade flag win in the last few years. Mate, back down to the south. I did see that Lorne defeated Illawarra Biak in the Colac District Grand Final by 18 points. That's a great name, Illawarra Biak, but
Doesn't
unfortunately they
roll off
couldn't.
the tongue quite as good as Nye West United, but still a good
No,
name.
it doesn't. No, not as well as Nine West United. Any chance to say it again? Um, Lawn, the Dolphins. I like that. There are not
That's
many teams
great.
called the Dolphins, other than especially if you're Lawn and you're
I
down on the
like
Great
that.
Ocean Road. Of course, Frankston Dolphins, but yeah. The Dolphins were coached by Ed Kerno, Pete. So,
Ah, the great man.
speaking of great AFL names,
Yep.
um, and I understand that that's the first time he's coached a premiership win. So well done, Ed. Well done to Lorne. Bendigo
And
Footy League. Yeah, sorry,
yeah,
mate. You want
no,
to jump in?
I was just going to say, look, I did watch a little bit of the Bendigo Footy League
Yeah,
grand final. I was flicking between that and the Ballarat Footy League
yeah.
grand final, as well as flicking between what else was I? I was listening to Scotch v Scobbs in the prelim of the A grade for VAFA. Um, yeah, Sandhurst v Gisborne there in the in all three divisions actually.
Yeah.
Not just Sandhurst and Gisborne in the seniors. It was across
Mm,
the reserves and the 18s as well. And yeah, not a great day if you're a Gisborne Bulldog because Sandhurst got up in all three of them as well. With the closest being the seniors, which was a 4 point win for the Dragons. Dragons, not a bad one. We probably don't have a whole lot of Dragons in
no,
terms
that's
of
true.
team names. But I just refuse to like anything about Sandhurst, and I will continue that moving forward. But they are a very good football club across the board, and certainly watching some of that game, they got out to a really big lead, and Gisborne tried their hardest to peg that back and got very close, but couldn't quite get over the line. Look,
Mm,
I don't want to be negative. That's not what this show's about. But I did just get a little bit disappointed seeing all three grand finals being the same, Sandhurst v Gisborne,
yeah.
because I think we spoke about diversity within the Ballarat League and some of the other leagues, the diversity they have, and it just seems like Bendigo are in a bit of a struggle at the minute to try and get that diversity across the teams in their league.
Yeah.
Not saying that they're not trying bloody hard every single day to try and create that, but
Mm,
clearly just not quite happening at the minute. So, um, and that probably rolls into the Goulburn Valley Footy League as well, where
yeah. Well, that's right. Yep. Yeah. I was just thinking as well that it's about 100 kilometres from Bendigo to Geelong, to Geelong, Bendigo to Gisborne.
yep,
So that's
Big
Imagine
league.
the the convoy of cars that would have been heading all the way up the Calder Freeway there from Gisborne, and the really sad convoy heading back. That's a long drive when you've lost all three grand finals.
In
Um,
saying that, is there's something about like so for those that aren't aware of the Bendigo Footy League, that grand final is played at the QEO. It's an obvious site to play the grand final. It's the premier deck there within Bendigo. But the QEO also serves as the home ground for Sandhurst.
yes,
So you're playing the team three times in 18s, reserves, and seniors who play at that deck, you
yeah.
know, every second week. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that there's always those debates, isn't it? You know, the AFL gets those debates around the G.
All Roos is up
Um,
and about that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know. It is just interesting. You probably can't take it elsewhere because where else do you want to go to play your grand finals other than the QEO? But
Mm,
um, I don't
yeah.
know.
No, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. You alluded to the Goulburn Valley League, Pete. Yes, that was a pretty amazing day out for Echuca.
Mm,
So we've had a few close grand finals that we've highlighted, and we've had a few spectacular club efforts like Sandhurst over Gisborne in all three, like Yakandanda winning all five flags in the Tallangatta District League that we talked about last week. So Echuca also fall into that category in the Goulburn Valley League. They also won all of the three available football premierships
yeah.
in the GVFL on the weekend. Um, yeah, that's bit of a disappointingly large margin in the grand final. Echuca by 96 points over the
Mm,
Shep Bears. So yes, that we don't like seeing huge margins in grand finals,
no.
but there it was. Good effort by Echuca. That's their third flag in a row. So
Yep.
definitely established themselves as a powerhouse in that competition at the moment. Um, I did have a look through the other results. The under 18s were a bit closer. Echuca won that game over Shep Swans by 1 point. So that would have been a very exciting game to watch. But
Would have
yeah,
been.
the seniors and resis were both fairly one sided. Um, so that was the GVFL. Um,
Then we go to the
I
Gippsland
was very
League.
interested in the Gippsland League. Yeah, I was following the Gippsland League earlier in my paddock
You
premiership
were.
with the Wonthaggi Power, who came home with a wet sail at the end of the home and away and made a really hot start to the finals. They were beaten by Traralgon in the end, Wonthaggi Power, in I think the semi final. Um, and Pete Traralgon have gone on to beat Lee and Gather in the grand final. So that's actually a bit of a surprise. Lee and Gather were the hot favourites to win that. I think
Mm,
I haven't got the exact details in front of me, but they were a fair way in front on top of the ladder, and I think they were going for back to back, if not a third. So I
yep.
think it was just a back to back. Anyway, yeah, the Leongatha Parrots, there's another good name. The Leongatha Parrots have been beaten by Traralgon, so well done to Traralgon on winning that one.
Great
Um,
effort.
yeah, and one last grand final to touch on. Um, Imagine you're about to leave competition that you're in.
Okay.
You've up stumps and you're going to go and play in another competition for whatever reason.
I can imagine
And
it.
then you just have the ultimate mic drop moment where you just win the premiership and nick off. Uh,
How good's that?
uh, Look, maybe the Outer East League are going to be happy to see the back of Narre Warren after they've just won the flag. But anyway, congratulations to Narre Warren. Any grand final win is good, but especially I guess if you're buggering off down to
It's
the
even
South
better.
Metro League. So there you go, 40-point win they had over Wandon out there. Um,
That's amazing. And then, of course, as you mentioned, we've got two grand finals, both being played on Friday to, as far as we're aware, to complete local footy across the state,
yeah,
which is the Geelong Footy Netball League, Leopold versus South Barwon, and then the VAFA A grade Old Scotch versus Old Brighton. Um, so yeah, there's two left to go.
Yeah.
We're what, a couple days away from that of the time of filming this. I think
Yep.
when we release this episode, it'll probably be maybe the day of, and they'll have been played.
Yep.
But certainly, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in both of those. I think, we've spoken a lot about our love for the VAFA with the Blacks, so we'll probably be keeping a little bit of an eye on that VAFA A grade game to see what happens there. So the other one I wanted to mention, Rob, and um, I honestly can't remember if we spoke about this in a previous episode. So if we have spoken about this in a previous episode, just feel free to say I have no idea what I'm talking about, and we can move on. But we mentioned earlier in the in one of the episodes you brought to the table, was it the Hoppers Crossing footy club?
Yes,
Um,
that's right. The
and
Warriors.
and the Warriors, and sort of what they were doing in the last sort of period. I think they went from a 158-point win in the last round, 79-point win in the first week of finals and the elimination. Then they go in, win by 41 in the semi-final. We're speaking about them going into that prelim against Caroline Springs.
That's right. We
Um,
were.
and Hoppers Crossing got up by 44 points in that prelim against Caroline Springs.
Yeah.
And then they roll into the grand final, which was played on the weekend against Werribee District. And
Yeah.
I tell you, what a story. But Hoppers Crossing have won the game 13-12-90 to 14-5-89. The,
Oh my
the,
God.
the Hoppers Crossing have gotten up by one solitary point to win the grand final in the Western Football Netball League.
Yep.
Just incredible. It was one that I know we spoke about earlier in one of our episodes, just based off what they were doing towards the back end of that season, and they've bloody come up and won the whole thing.
That's incredible. I've forgotten where they finished on the ladder, but I'm pretty sure they were a little way down, and they really were, yeah, like you say, coming with a
They
wet sail
they
and
finished
some
fifth.
results. Yeah.
They finished fifth
Um,
in a top five. So they finished
yeah, there you go.
the last spot in the finals, played Altona in the first week of the elimination,
Yeah.
and marched their way through every single other team to get a grand final win. You can imagine the beers on Saturday, wherever the Hoppers Crossing boys were absolutely flowing, because that
Oh, yes.
could be the greatest win, I think, this year in local footy. If someone's got a better one out there, but a team coming from fifth or bottom, essentially bottom of the finals, to win the premiership. I don't know if someone's got something better out there, but if you do, let us know, because that's pretty incredible.
I'm going to make it even better for you.
Here we go. Give it to me.
I've just done a little bit of on the fly research here. Where do you reckon Hoppers Crossing finished on the ladder in 2023?
Second bottom.
Even better.
The bottom.
They were the Wooden Spooners in 2023.
Wow. Wow,
So
that's incredible.
that is an extraordinary turnaround.
That's amazing.
And they beat the reigning premiers. Werribee Districts were the reigning premiers.
Wow.
So, I mean, if ever there was a fairy tale in local football, that's a great pickup for pointing that one out. Well done.
That is incredible. And the other one I'm bringing to the table, I think, can't remember what episode it was, Rob, whether it was episode 2 or episode 3. I mentioned one of the players in the Riddle League that I can't even remember. I'd have to pull up one of our old run sheets, but I think it was 14 times in the best in like 17 games or something like that. And I was sort of challenging someone out there to find something better. One of the things that I'm sure we'll talk about in terms of what you and I might do in coming episodes of this podcast is probably some league reviews where we look at a league in its entirety and how teams went and how they fared. I was doing some research for one of those, just getting a little bit of a head start, and I was looking at the Maryborough League for one
Yeah.
of our reviews. Joel Cowan for the Trentham Saints, who we
Yeah.
spoke a little bit about Trentham last week in our episode. 18 games played, 17 times named in the best.
Oh,
So
well done.
very, very impressive. He failed to poll in the best in round 6 against Talbot, so needed to obviously take a good hard look at himself in that game.
Did he
And
play?
yeah, he played. He played.
Okay.
Played very poorly, apparently, by all reports. Based off this, did kick a goal, but that was it. And yeah, he's managed to find himself in the 17 other games he played this season, which is just remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's very good. Nice, mate. Yeah. So we will probably get into some reviews in the coming weeks, I reckon. And the footy season starts to wind up. As you said, we've only got two grand finals in local footy. Apparently, there's some kind of football match on Saturday as well. I'm not sure what that is. It could be something to do with why I'm wearing a lion scarf.
The
Um,
EJ Witten game, are they bringing that
it could
back?
be the okay. Um, so look, we hope that if you've got a team in the AFL Grand Final, whether you're a South Melbourne supporter or a Fitzroy supporter, we wish you the best of luck for that game on Saturday. And if you're one of the lucky people from the four remaining clubs left alive in local footy around Victoria, good luck to you. Yeah, mate. As far as I can tell from the VAFA website, Brighton haven't won an A grade premiership in the VAFA. They're only listed as a club called Brighton in 1903. I'd be interested to know about the history, but we've potentially got a first ever A grade flag winner in the VAFA.
Mm.
So let's see how that goes.
I certainly did
And
read. I read something during the week that did say that yeah, that Brighton had either never won it or hadn't won it for a long time. And the
mm,
line that I liked was in terms of when the last time Old Scotch had won it, and I don't even know if this is true. I didn't fact check this. This is just the comment I saw was was the last time Old Scotch won it, Jesus was a boy. So so I don't know if that's true, and both teams haven't won it for quite some time. But that was the comment I saw about Old Scotch was that Jesus was a young boy when the last time they felt
uh,
victory.
I think old Zavarians won the flag when in 3 AD.
Yeah, yeah,
And
probably
Uni, and,
set the
Uni, and Uni Blacks went on a 10-year run in 4 AD through to 14 AD. No, look, we better wrap it up there. Hey, it's been a pretty epic week of grand finals.
definitely.
We've had a lot of fun bringing this to you. We'll bring some reviews out and some catch ups on those last couple of grand finals in
Yep,
the coming weeks. But thanks for watching. Thanks for getting on board at the end of this 2024 local footy season. It's been a lot of fun.
yep,
And we've certainly learnt a lot and
yeah,
loved learning a lot about how the local
100%.
footy is going. And yeah, hats off to all those volunteers, all those members, all those committee members, all
Yep,
those people out there at the various clubs, the umpires,
the players,
especially the volunteer umpires, all the players, all the
even
parents driving
yep,
people around. Yeah,
even the players that are just still playing so that they can get an excuse to get away from the kids. I've known a few footballers that have had a year off retirement and come back to footy the next year and said, "Nope, this is the one time I can get away from the kids. I'm
yeah,
back playing footy." So, but 100%,
absolutely.
Rob, echo those sentiments completely. Just big shout out to all of those that make local footy what it is, the heartbeat of the game, grassroots footy. It's been absolutely incredible to be able to deliver this for you in the last little parts of 2024. And I know you and I are looking forward to doing these league reviews and then actually doing this more properly in 2025, where we can maybe look at it from start to finish and follow these journeys. Imagine following the Hoppers Crossing journey from start to finish. You know, that's what we've got to look forward to next season.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we do thank everyone that's sent something in or given us a heads up about something incredible that's happened, and all of those that have just listened. But yeah, stay tuned for our league reviews that'll be coming out in the coming months.
Absolutely. And the last thing I wanted to say was that when we started this, we started with some sentiments and some thoughts about country footy and local footy being in a bit of trouble. You know, we so often hear about issues with players, points, and
Yep,
salaries. But hey, from what we've seen in the last few weeks, country footy and local footy in general is alive and well.
yeah,
And
there's
I
good stuff
reckon
going on.
the incredible results, the passion, the coverage, the involvement, the number of different clubs around the state getting involved and being successful and having great seasons. Mate, local footy's alive and well, and we love that. And we love that people are having it brought to their lounge rooms and to their phones. And we're really happy to be a part of that. So
Yeah.
we'll see you very soon. But for the moment, go the Lions on the weekend. And yeah, may your team win or may your Mad Mondays be full of frothies.